If a woman holds the power to create life through pregnancy, she also holds the power to create the life that she wants. Here's the secret no one tells you about. There is a direct relationship between self-love and the law of manifestation. What if I told you that you don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are? Here's what happens when most people love to talk about what they want without acting on it. In the procrastination stage, they begin to feel anxious, frustrated, and disappointed with their reality, and over time, the unmet expectations chip away their sense of self and confidence. But when opportunities show up in the form of effort and discipline, they turn away because it's too hard. But you can't manifest your desires into reality by talking. It doesn't work that way. By repeatedly talking about your desires without following through or taking actions, it creates a negative self-image and a disconnect between intention and reality, resulting in stagnation and a lack of fulfillment. Look, I know that some of you may disagree with me because you believe in the power of affirmations. In fact, it has been trending for years now, and if anyone doesn't know what it is, affirmations are positive statements that you recite to yourself, usually in the form of an audio or video to increase luck, wealth, happiness, and love frequency into your life. Basically, fake it till you make it. And yes, I believe it works to a certain extent, but let's be real. Do affirmations really lead to a permanent transformation? In times of struggle, have you ever felt like you were being forced to recite positive affirmations? Here's the thing about affirmations. It can feel inauthentic, even though the purpose is to reprogram our subconscious to believe in the declaration and lean towards empowerment. But let's be honest, it's actually counterproductive if you are constantly plagued with existing negative beliefs about yourself. Don't get me wrong, I'm not denying the power of words, but most circumstances are not exactly black and white. I may probably get a lot of hate for saying this, but affirmations are essentially lies to trick your minds to think in a certain way. And guess what? Lies don't heal us, it creates more suffering. If everyone can heal by repeating positive affirmations every day, the world does not need therapists to do the job. The only way to heal ourselves requires self-love and self-respect. In the past, I remember that I used to say, I love my gorgeous body right after binge eating the whole night. It made me feel good for about 5 seconds before my mind registered it as a lie. Because honestly, I did not feel that way at all. Eventually, my subconscious rejected the affirmations as it contradicts my negative thought patterns. It knew that the statement was false and that particular affirmation was not going to lead to a profound, meaningful change. All because I have not addressed the root cause, and that is my self-limiting beliefs. Over the years, I realized that affirmations only work if it's met with radical honesty. For instance, if you have a history of social anxiety and you constantly tell yourself that you're confident, your mind knows that it's a lie because you have always been nervous in public. The truth is, your subconscious picks up evidence of your habitual thoughts and patterns every single day. Let's say that your goal is to love your body. That would be nice, but let's be honest, you're not going to love your body every day. There are some days I don't feel great because I feel bloated, but I don't necessarily hate my body. If you think that the goal is to always love your body, you're going to feel like a failure on the days where positive affirmations feels harder to integrate. Instead, you could say, I'm so frustrated with my eating habits, but I'm learning to treat myself with the respect I deserve and do better. Perhaps I can start with meal prep for the week. Or another example would be, I'm very upset that I've been single for 5 years, but I'm learning to love myself more in the meanwhile and be grateful for the current stage of my life. Perhaps I can take myself out on dates instead of relying on others to fill the gap. Do you see a difference? These statements are not anti-self-praise or temporary mind boosters to make you feel better in the moment. They are extremely honest, self-respecting assessments of where we are at in life while working towards what we are capable of becoming. In other words, affirmations are most powerful when it's combined with actions that support the desired outcome. On the other hand, you'll be surprised that finding who you are often requires losing who you are. And it starts with letting go of the need to control everything. Let me say this again. You can never control anything outside of you. Do you know how stressful it is to try to control everything to go in your favor? What if I told you that letting go allows you to release the pressure and anxiety associated with manipulating outcomes? By accepting that things may not always unfold as planned, learning to surrender yourself and trust the process, it's a radical act of self-love as it cultivates peace, acceptance, as well as building healthier relationships with others. For all the women who have been married for years, this is for you. Have you ever paused for a moment and asked yourself, who am I without my husband? What would my life look like? And let's be real, I noticed that most women build their entire identity and self-worth around their marriage. And I get it. We were taught that the success of being a woman is being someone's wife, and that's the end goal. Like as if we have reached the destination of our fate once we get the marriage certificate. But what no one tells you is that all these years, most women gave up their ambitions, their friendships, their hobbies to dedicate their life to a man who barely values the sacrifice. And here's what usually happens in a divorce. They are completely lost and unsure of who they are outside of their marriage, and that's devastating. The fact that they outsource their identity to a man who claims to love them forever but end up leaving them is the harsh reality we're living in right now. So, never put your life on hold or give up your dreams in exchange for someone's love. That's the most ultimate form of self-betrayal you can ever do to yourself. Always remember, if the love doesn't come from you, it comes with terms and conditions. Ever since I started working on becoming the best version of myself, I've made the conscious decision to stop caring if anyone likes me or approves of me. Whatever it is, their approval is irrelevant to me. Every morning, I set an intention to dedicate most of my energy into pursuing my goals, my purpose, my joy, and my peace. So if anyone has a problem with that, it really doesn't bother me. The best thing I ever did is to not care about what other people think, especially when I have to assert my boundaries. It gives me so much peace in knowing that I love myself so much that no one can take that away from me. At the end of the day, we all make mistakes, and if by any chance I have hurt or offended someone without realizing it, I will own up to it by taking responsibility and deeply reflect on it. Self-love means having grace and compassion for yourself, but it doesn't mean that it is an excuse to run away from your problems. And let's be real, self-love means nothing if it's not backed up with a change in behavior. You have to cultivate a high level of self-awareness and honestly assess your flaws. Work on the shortcomings that are disrupting your growth and understand the profound impact it has caused. Ask yourself, does it affect my relationships, work, and overall well-being? If it does, what can I do about it? As for me, I love to ask trusted friends or family for constructive criticism and feedback on areas to improve. The truth is, discomfort is a sign of growth. So every time you avoid discomfort, you're telling your brain that you can't handle this. And let's be honest, the most effective long-term solution is to set realistic goals by focusing on making small, manageable change over time. As much as we all love a shortcut, there is just no other way around it. For instance, if most of your friends and family say that you're insensitive, you have to learn to be accepting of other people's opinions and consider their feelings before you speak. It takes time and effort to work on your communication skills and be mindful of your actions so you don't go around hurting others. Don't get me wrong, embracing your imperfections is essential to loving yourself, but not at the expense of causing intentional harm to others. The truth is, everyone is carrying an invisible pain within us that we know nothing about. So be nice to everyone you meet. We're all just trying our best here. By having empathy for people and holding yourself accountable for your mistakes, you're allowing yourself to learn and grow from experiences, as well as aligning your behaviors with your core values. I wish I knew this sooner, but striving for personal growth shows the level of commitment you're willing to put in, and that means you have a fine appreciation and positive regard for yourself, which in turn is a reflection of self-love. This brings me to my next point. For anyone struggling to love yourself in a toxic relationship, imagine this for a second. You are traveling in China and decide to dine at a hot pot restaurant. As the waitress is about to take your order, you request for something completely off the menu. A bolognese pasta and a glass of red wine. Of course they wouldn't serve you because you're asking in the wrong place, not because you're asking for too much. Eventually, you have to understand that you are asking the wrong person to give you the love you deserve. And here's why self-love comes into the equation. If you possess a decent level of self-love, you will naturally expect your partner to match the love you have for yourself because that's how much you value yourself. At the very least, you won't hesitate to entertain anything or anyone less than what you deserve. And I get it, nobody is easy to be with. Someone once told me that everyone enters a relationship with baggage. Find someone who loves you enough to help you unpack. As much as I love how romantic that sounds, I believe it has to be us, no one else. We have to love ourselves enough to unpack our own baggage. Not your mom, your boyfriend, or your husband is responsible for that. Having said that, believing in your worth is crucial to attract positive experiences. When you truly love yourself, you are naturally vibrating at a higher frequency, thus making you a vibrational match for the desires you wish to manifest. Most importantly, you must play your part to heal from within so you can recognize that attention is not love, attachment is not connection, and bare minimum is not effort. After all, having high standards protect you from low-quality experiences. Besides, self-love is also tied to how confident and self-assured you are. What if I told you that confidence isn't based on whether they will like me, but rather, I'll be fine even if they don't? In spite of the circumstances that are meant to break you, you have to stand strong and be so damn confident in your ability to overcome it. And that requires being secure in your own identity. The truth is, when we are secure within ourselves, we are free to give and receive the most abundant and authentic love. It doesn't come from a place of lack or manipulation to gain control. Very often, when people are desperate for love or affection, they tend to misinterpret the signs of manipulation for love and accept manipulating behaviors as a substitute for genuine love. If you ever feel like something is off in a relationship, trust your intuition. It never betrays you. But if you don't trust yourself enough in this moment, that's okay. Seek professional help for any concerns you have. As long as you're actively working on loving yourself, you're already one step ahead of the majority, and that's a huge accomplishment. Unfortunately, most of us have built the foundation on all the things you thought you needed to feel worthy, loved, or respected. The stable job, the perfect relationship, the flawless image, the constant praise and applause. But underneath all of that is the very thing that deepens the feeling of not good enough in a world that conformed us to act or behave in a certain way that promotes the need for external validation. Let's be honest, true confidence doesn't always come from what you do. In fact, you don't need anything external to prove yourself. Self-love demands the real you, the parts you have buried for survival, the parts you have silenced to be accepted, the parts you have forgotten because life got in the way. And when you finally return home to yourself, you will realize that confidence is not something you have to outsource or perform. It's something you embody from within. If you really want to transform your life, stop repeating habits that build the one you're trying to escape. At the end of the day, loving yourself will always upset the system that taught you to dislike who you are. 10 years from now, I hope you can say that you chose yourself and you didn't settle for mediocrity. Thank you for watching and click to subscribe if you enjoy my content. Bye!